Ashiok, the Nightmare Weaver, a mage whose power has plagued many a sleepy hero, a planeswalker who survived the Great Pruning, and who proved to be the essential component needed to topple Elesh Norn's own dreams of a completed multiverse. Who is Ashiok? What is their story? And how will they be a huge part in the future of Magic the Gathering story? Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Ether Hub. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Today, I want to examine the character Ashiok, who has a long, storied history in MTG and was recently spotlighted again in Wilds of Eldraine. Ashiok, to me, is a super interesting character whose true motives and intentions have always been mysterious. In fact, a lot about this planeswalker still remains a mystery, even down to their origins. We could say that this character is just plainly not fleshed out, but in truth, Ashiok's lack of development is what drives so much interest in them. But with Wilds of Eldraine bringing us into a new story arc for Magic, the Omenpath arc, I think we'll finally get some answers concerning Ashiok. Before we begin, I just want to thank Wizards of the Coast for sponsoring today's video. As an MTG ambassador, I'm proud to be working alongside them to bring you this story of Magic the Gathering. You can check out all of the story spotlight cards and Ashiok's own appearance in Wilds of Eldraine by using my link found in the description below. Remember, if you enjoy our content, please consider supporting this channel by leaving it a like, sharing it with friends, and becoming a subscriber. And now, let's get into the lore. To understand Ashiok as a character, especially as we head into the Omenpath arc, which they seem to be a major player in, we must first go over who they are. What do we know about Ashiok's history in MTG lore? As stated in the start of this video, one of the most appealing aspects of Ashiok's character is the mystery that surrounds them. Much like the dark smoke emanating from their horns, obscuring their true form, Ashiok's own history too is shielded from our sight. It seems whatever path they chose to walk down long ago didn't include whoever they were in the past. Now, all that remains is Ashiok, the Nightmare Mage. Our first introduction to Ashiok came in the original Theros block and its story. This nightmare-wielding planeswalker, who had since abandoned their normal mortal form with their delving into this nightmare magic, traveled to Theros to learn more about the plane's unique essence. Theros is a special plane because belief itself there is a powerful form of magic. As people believe in something, that belief coalesces and becomes a god, with powers over all aspects that belief entails. So belief creates gods on Theros. What Ashiok went there to study was the inverse of belief, to see just how potent doubt and nightmares could be on a plane where belief held such power. If simply believing in gods offered so many boons to the pantheon, surely doubt and fear in those same gods created something even stronger. It's heavily implied that not only did Ashiok come to Theros to craft increasingly powerful nightmares and horrific constructs, but that they were doing so at the behest of another unknown force. Whether for personal enjoyment, or as a part of a larger, more insidious enterprise, we don't yet fully know. For their research on Theros, Ashiok was granted aid by the god of lies and deceit, Phanex, who granted them a boon that shielded their activities from the other gods. Using this anti-deity cloaking, Ashiok psychically attacked several cities across Theros and plagued the dreams of their citizens. The raw power generated from their nightmares gave birth to a new god, a god of Ashiok's own design, named Cacophony, the god of cities. Though this hideous creation didn't last long in Nyx, the realm of gods, being struck down by the rest of the pantheon as an affront to their nature, it stood as a successful proof of concept for Ashiok. They had achieved something great on Theros, proving the power their nightmares held. Their ultimate goal was revealed to cast a massive spell over all of Theros, putting all of its citizens to sleep, allowing Ashiok to harvest nightmares at their leisure. That plan, however, was foiled by Dak Faden, but not before Ashiok perfected their sleep curse and even learned how to control sleepers as they suffered in their nightmares. Ashiok then remained on Theros, and would eventually find the lost soul of the planeswalker Elspeth Tirel. Though Elspeth had perished on Theros and was now trapped in the plane's underworld, her dreams called out to Ashiok because of their particularly potent nightmares. The fear they induced in Elspeth lured Ashiok in. What Elspeth feared, what she truly feared, were the Phyrexians. Every time she dreamed, she thought back to her home of New Capenna, and how it was lost to the Phyrexians. She lived a horrific life in which everything and everyone she knew were tainted by their corruption, until she found respite with her Planeswalker spark. But even in leaving that horrific life, the stain of the Phyrexians stuck with her through these nightmares. Such a potent fear, Ashiok had to learn more. Ashiok tormented and manipulated the fallen Planeswalkers' nightmares and learned everything they could about the Phyrexians, understanding them to be a truly terrifying force in the multiverse. So they left Theros to find out more about them. As they traveled to New Phyrexia, Ashiok again learned more about the horrors of these monsters, along with the fear they instilled in the native Mirran rebels, who still fought valiantly to save their world from completion. With learning as much as they could, it was now time to try something truly outstanding. Could they make something so terrifying feel fear themselves? As far as most people throughout the multiverse knew, the Phyrexians were completely immune to normal mortal emotions. They were more machine than living beings, with consciousness connected as one and driven to a singular purpose. Nothing suggested true completed Phyrexians could even experience fear. Ashiok, however, knew that all things would succumb to nightmares. You just have to tailor it properly to each victim. So, what do Phyrexians fear? Ashiok tested their theory on the big cheese themselves. They targeted the head of the hive mind, the mother of machines, Elesh Norn. In a dream, the leader of New Phyrexia experienced her own version of a nightmare, in that her glistening oil failed to corrupt and complete a regular Mirran mortal. And seeing this, doubt about her purpose began to swell inside Elesh Norn. This was their grand design, their reason for being. If it fails, then why do they exist? Though these emotions are foreign to Elesh Norn, Ashiok reads them all the same, but in doing so, reveals themselves to the Phyrexian. Immediately, Norn recognizes this as a manipulation and lashes out at Ashiok. In response, the Nightmare Mage conjures an image of Elspeth Tirel, clad in armor made of Norn's own body. Though she would never properly recognize it, Ashiok knew Norn feared Elspeth Tirel. She feared the warrior who stood against New Phyrexia, who had a power within her to fight their corruption. Elesh Norn's greatest fear was Elspeth. Leaving the dream, satisfied that they had again brought a figure almost godlike in stature low, Elesh Norn brushed off the experience and tried to use it to strengthen her resolve. However, those fears remained in the back of her thoughts, pervasive, slightly altering her actions as doubt crept in. Fear makes sufferers act impulsively, and it would eventually lead to Elesh Norn's downfall in the March of the Machine story arc. While Elspeth Tirel and Karn were obviously heroes in the conflict, the seeds of Elesh Norn's defeat were planted by Ashiok. All of this had been in pursuit of their true goal, what really motivates the actions of Ashiok. While at first appearing to be nothing more than your average dark mage, a twister of dreams into nightmares, terrifying people for their own means and enjoyment, in truth, Ashiok has a bit more going on as a character. On Theros, they expressed an almost relatable, even principled stance that all beings experience fear. It's the one thing that we all share, the powerful and weak alike. It's the great equalizer of the multiverse, from the lowliest peasant to the god dragon Nicol Bolas, who they had also monitored during the War of the Spark story. We all have something we fear. The one thing we understand about what motivates the nightmares of Ashiok is that they want to create a nightmare so terrifying that it brings even the strongest beings low. They hate those who put themselves above others, who say they fear nothing, and love seeing those mightiest crippled by fear just as anyone else would. Now, that doesn't mean Ashiok is some Robin Hood-esque figure. Far from it. We saw on Theros that Ashiok isn't against inflicting unspeakable horrors on countless innocents in pursuit of their perfect nightmare. To Ashiok, fear is shared by all, big and small, and that fear is intoxicating no matter who trembles in it. Though I wouldn't directly classify Ashiok as evil either. They still can't obviously be described as good. What they do is really evil, but is it chaotic evil? Their only true targets are those who may think themselves as untouchable, usually through nefarious means. though many others fall to their nightmares in the process. Some maybe would compare Ashiok's alignment with that of the Planeswalker Tybalt, like an agent of chaotic evil. Evil in its most random of forms. But I don't feel like that's the case. Ashiok does what they do clearly to grow in power, and their targeting is in pursuit of a clear goal. So rather than chaotic evil, I'd say Ashiok's motivations lean more towards a neutral evil categorization. But now, evidence suggests that Ashiok may be working towards something more, or maybe even working on behalf of another entity. And it may have us all second guessing everything we know about Ashiok's character. As we begin a new arc for Magic's story known as the Omenpath arc, we're introduced to Ashiok's possible role in it with Wilds of Eldraine. Now, Ashiok was initially lured to Eldraine because of a huge influx of dream magic that flooded the multiverse. In response to the Phyrexians' invasion of Eldraine, the fantastical Fae of the plane banded together to help their world survive. Their salvation came in the form of a plane-wide spell, a curse known as the Wicked Slumber. As the name suggests, 3 witches, along with the Lord of the Fae, cast a curse that put many of the Phyrexian forces into a deep slumber. It slowed down their assault enough for Eldraine to mount a defense, until the invasion ultimately concluded with New Phyrexia's defeat. Unfortunately, one of the witches, Arit, didn't want to let such a powerful spell go to waste. She orchestrated the curse to get out of hand, spreading from Phyrexians to the general population of Eldraine. The Wicked Slumber's violet mists entrapped many, and their dreams summoned Ashiok. Ashiok travels to Eldraine and tracks down the witch responsible for all these sleepers. Ashiok saw Arit and her ambition as a potent tool, and offered the witch her counsel. Ashiok is well versed in nightmare magic, as well as manipulating sleepers. Ashiok taught Arit their secrets, how to control dreams, and even control the bodies of those dreaming. With this knowledge, Arit commanded an army of sleepers and attempted to take control over the fractured realms through strength. In her own twisted rationalization for this obvious evil, Arit felt everyone had suffered too much with the Phyrexian invasion, that putting them into a sleep and ensuring them peace and comfort in a pleasant dream was a far better fate than living in such a sad reality. Of course, with Ashiok there pulling the strings, I doubt the sleepers experienced anything close to peace while asleep. While Ashiok acted simply as a teacher for the witch, Arit really driving the story forward, the Nightmare Mage was involved in the climactic battle of the story. Arit and later Rowan were simply acolytes to nightmare magic, but Ashiok was its master. While they wielded the sleepers like a crude hammer, Ashiok danced them with elegant precision. Arit wouldn't bring the peace she desired to Eldraine, as the High King Will Kenrith, along with the young half-fae hero Kellen, managed to defeat Ashiok and force them to planeswalk away to safety. In losing their mentor, Arit and Rowan lost control of their army and were captured. But Ashiok wasn't finished with their student just yet. Waiting in her prison cell, Arit knew Ashiok would eventually come for her. A cloud of smoke and an icy chill herald their arrival. In their confinement, Ashiok reveals that preparations had been made, that plans couldn't wait for a young Rowan to perfect her witchcraft. They were beckoned to move on. Ashiok then whisks Arit, who isn't a planeswalker, away, probably securing an Omenpath to a desired destination. Such is the namesake of this particular story arc, where even non-planeswalking characters can get involved in some multiversal hijinks. Ashiok has now taken a more involved role in Magic the Gathering story. Before, the Nightmare Mage was always skirting the edges of the story, a perpetual threat, but never the threat of a story. They've been working in the backgrounds for years, either alone or with some other unknown agent. But all of that has changed with the Omenpath arc. In Wilds of Eldraine's story, Ashiok first looks to have their typical role of just manipulating a plane for personal reasons, but still not really driving the events themselves. Yet, with this final scene, it looks like Ashiok was in fact orchestrating events in preparations for something much larger. Something that requires the magic of Arit and possibly even Rowan. We don't yet know where this could lead, but something or someone is gathering powerful mages, spellcrafters, from across the multiverse. And in some way, Ashiok is involved. and they will lead us to the next huge conflict in the Magic the Gathering story. And there you guys go, everything you need to know about Ashiok, a major antagonist heading into the newest chapter of MTG storytelling. Ashiok as a character has always been one shrouded in mystery, conducting their atrocities in a more personal manner. But now, they appear to be stepping out of the shadows, gathering evil allies through the Omenpaths, all in service to what they've been likely working on since they first appeared on Theros all those years ago. What do you think about Ashiok? Do you like this Nightmare Mage as an antagonist? What do you think their plan is, and how does it involve the Omenpaths? Let me know in the comment section below. Again, I just want to thank Wizards of the Coast for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to check out my link and find Ashiok in their latest story with Wilds of Eldraine. Find it in the description below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, consider supporting the channel by leaving it a like, sharing it with friends, and becoming a subscriber. It all goes a long way in helping the channel grow. And until next time, guys, see ya!